Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday evening, June the 27th, 2021. I hope everyone is safe and doing as well as possible. I'd like to welcome everyone to the show tonight. This will be my weekly update that I'll be putting on YouTube. We're going to go over methane, see what's going on there during the week, and sea ice and earthquakes, the usual. So it's we made it through another week. It just feels like it's getting harder every week, but we're here. And if my voice will hold out, I'll get going here. We're going to start with the NOAA methane data for yesterday, the 26th. This is the 477/469 millibar reading. We have the Met-1 satellite in the morning. The mean or average was 1909 parts per billion. The high reading was 2525. And I want you to look at all these pinks that are showing up in the southern hemisphere. This methane is coming up around this Antarctic coastline, and it looks like it's getting worse to me. In the afternoon, the mean was 1908. The high reading was 2398. On the Met-2 satellite in the morning, the mean was 1889. The high reading was 2397. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1889. And the high reading was 2597. Here's the spreadsheet and chart that we've been working off of. I started doing this the first part of March in 2019. Here's where we started out then, and here's where we are right now. So the 26th averages out to be 1898.75. That's showing a slight increase over the week before of 0.5 parts per billion. So it had gone down slightly. We'd gone up 3 weeks in a row in May, in June, end of May, and then into June, and then last week it had gone down 2 parts per billion. Now this week, when you look, you'll see that in the middle of the week we had spiked back up above 1900. So overall we're at 0.5 parts per billion higher, just so the line just barely went up than this time last week. We're still 17.25 parts per billion higher than we were a year ago, and we're 41.5 parts per billion higher than when I started on March the 19th. So methane is out of control. It's going up, and I'm tracking it. Started tracking it daily in February of last year. So now I have all this data for this certain level from NOAA where I'm tracking it daily and can go back and see what it was on all of those days. Let's see what happened this week. So here we were in our show last week. We were 1898.25. Then that was the reading for Saturday. They're a day behind. And so on Sunday there was no change. On Monday it went up 1.25. On Tuesday it went up 2 parts per billion. And so at that point we were 3.25 parts per billion higher than Saturday, and we were 23 parts per billion higher than a year ago. And then on the 23rd there was no change, and then it started going back down. On the 24th it went down 0.75. On the 25th it went down 0.5. And then here on the 26th it went down. It was a pretty good decrease of 1.5. So it still had not gone all the way back down from where it had been on the 22nd. On the 22nd it was 1901.5, and we've been kind of hovering around this 1900 mark for a couple of months now. And so to see it pop up above 1901 to 1901.5, it was going up, and then so we're just barely above from last week. So that's where we're at. And if you would like to see more frequent methane reports, I put them on my Subscribestar page for my members, and they're up over there for a week or two, and then I archive them over to my website, and that's all open to the public. I also have a archive channel on Vimeo that's open to the public. It's got over 700 report videos now. So here we go. This is, and I figure this is kind of my legacy. This is what I'm leaving for people to look back and see where we were at a certain day, and where was methane on such and such day in 2020, 2021, 2019. What was it doing? What did CAMS look like? How have they changed the color charts, the color ledgers? It's all there. And then my YouTube channel has, I don't know how many videos. I've got over 500 videos on YouTube, and so anyway, I just keep doing it. So here we are. So this is CAMS, Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Services. They're out of the EU. I've loaded up Saturday the 26th, Arctic view, and the surface level. Here's our color ledger, and you see this darkest color. This is between 2160 and 10,000 parts per billion, and we've been noticing here from Norway over into western Russia in the Scandinavian wetlands. It's just been billowing this week. It's out of control. And this is just a sample of what's coming to the rest of the world as things break down. So the data is for Saturday, and the forecast period runs Sunday through Wednesday. So you can, when it's pulsing, that's when the sun is up, and then when it kind of goes down, that's when it's nighttime on that side of the world. But this whole area is, it looks like it's in big trouble. We're still billowing here around Komsomolets. Our problem spot here in the North Kara Sea is coming back to life. We're seeing, I don't know if the algorithms have been tweaked or what, but I mean, considering how high methane is, I would think it would look worse than it does here in the Arctic, but here we are. We're not seeing very many greens, in fact. Now look at this coming off of, this is Koktovik area of Alaska. Look at this. Here it comes. That heavy release coming across the Beaufort Sea. Now the sea ice is really starting to break down in the Beaufort Sea, so we should be seeing, or I should say, I'm not surprised to be seeing methane coming up in that area. Our problem spot in the North Atlantic is still percolating here off the coast of Canada. I apologize for my voice. This is, you know, how would you like to sound like this all the time? It's just, you know, I can't help it. It's the way it is. And it's constricting and getting worse. I don't know what it is. And see, Russia, see, it's really filling back up here in the interior, and then over here in Yakutia, and they've got wildfires billowing. It's just awful. And then we've got China, and see how it's filling up in northern China, and up, and here's the Russia line, where Russia starts. Korea is filled up. It's, look at the US. It's, you know, it's a whole thing. You can get real depressed looking at this every day. I have to do other things, and I've taken on some other projects that are totally not climate related, and that I'm actually making some money from, and that gets my mind off of it. So I don't know why that's not stopping there. I keep clicking. It's not stopping. There, finally. And you just, you know, you gotta live your life, and you know, you gotta make money. You can't just keep going along and not making any money. So, and you can't, I finally realized it's not very wise to do financial planning around near-term human extinction, because, you know, we don't know when everything's going to end. We don't know when the methane bomb is going to go off. I'm surprised that it hasn't gone off by now. We don't know when the Blue Ocean event is going to happen. I'm surprised it hasn't happened before now. And I was just like going through my inheritance that I got from my friend Alan, and I had to stop. You know, I said it's got to stop, because, you know, pretty soon, you know, that can just be gone and out on the street. So I'm a realist too, you know. I can't just keep doing this and not be supported. I was hoping that I would get more support, but it just hasn't happened. And you know, telling people the end of the world is coming is not a big money maker, as Dr. Guy McPherson knows. And I never got monetized on YouTube. That won't get monetized. They won't do it. And so this is it. Here we are. And just whatever little bit that I'm getting from my active subscribers on Subscribestar, get that, and then whatever people donate. And it's just very little. It doesn't, it's very little. And so I'm doing it as not for the money, obviously. It's as a documentary, my documenting what I'm seeing and what's going on, and for when I'm not here, and for people to see what's happened and how things fell apart. And we can see that India's filling back up now. See, it's coming back further down to the tip. Persian Gulf is looking awful. In fact, it looks to me like there's a white spot coming up here, meaning it's higher. Let's see. Oh, maybe not. Higher than the 10,000 parts per billion. And then we've got Europe and Germany, and it's just, and then China. It's just too much. Look at Korea. See that? It's just a big blob coming all the way up now. Here's Japan. And here's California. It's just, I wished I felt better to do more reporting, and that I didn't, and that I was able to talk a little easier. But it's probably for the best. Here's the Antarctic view. I've started showing this every week. And I'm also doing a midweek update. I do that for my Subscribestar members on Wednesdays. It's similar to what I do on Sundays, but we do a midweek update on the sea ice too. I'm not showing the sea ice every single show. It's just too hard to keep tracking every little tiny little melt and everything. But look at look at what's happening here. Here's the Western Peninsula. Now here's South America. You can see the methane streaming down, but you can see the difference between that and what's coming up from the surface. It's all along this Western Peninsula. It's on both sides. Then coming down on this little elbow area, I don't know the name of that, and then on the southern end, this is the Ross Sea down here, and you can see it coming up all around there on that southern edge, and then on the east side of the Ross Sea, it's coming up. I mean the southeast side of the Ross Sea. And then on this east side, it's just popping up. Here's the Amory ice sheet. That's looking worse. And then on the northern side, it looks like it's kind of spreading out. It was just kind of here along the Brunt ice shelf, and now it's on this north side too. So I don't know what's going on, frankly, and it's completely dark down there. I really don't know. I cannot tell you why it's coming up like that, except for it's heating up from inside. It's heating up from underneath, and the sediments are releasing the methane. So that's flipping me out. And then we've got the global view. Now you can see, remember I said that this light blue would be creeping down further south, and it is. Before, this was more of this dark blue, which was 1800 parts per billion. That was covering this whole southern hemisphere, along with the light purple, which was 1780. But now, as methane is on the rise, the purple is gone. There's no more purple. The dark blue is being overtaken by the light blue. And soon we'll see the light blue filling up all the way to the bottom of the picture there. And you'll be able to see the whole outline of Australia in the light blue. It's hard to see the continents, the outlines of the continents in the darker color. But you'll see Australia and New Zealand once everything goes light blue. Here's the white spot still popping up at Beijing, and it's the most polluted city in the world with the worst air quality. China is the biggest polluter in the world, and next to that we've got India. We can see these are the hot spots. And then South America, some of this is from burning of the forests, but also where you've got rainforests and vegetation, very humid, decomposing vegetation, things like that. You have high methane along with the high heat that causes the decomposing to increase and causes the high methane. And then I wanted to show, so that's all of methane. Before we get into sea ice, I just want to show sulfur dioxide today. Now here we have a big release. This is in the Philippines. I'm not sure if this is volcano related. I tried to find a volcano that was erupting. I couldn't really see it. Maybe it already erupted, maybe it's earthquake related, I don't know, but it's pretty huge. Here it's the largest sulfur dioxide maker today. This is 500 HPA, and it's just jumped right up there. And here's a close-up. These are the Philippines here. And here it is at 500 HPA, just like a big ink blot. You can see the force. See the rings coming out. That's the force of the release coming out there. There's that. I also wanted to show a couple of other things while I'm here. I don't show carbon dioxide that often. Here is carbon dioxide for yesterday. This is total column. You can see that there's no aqua or very little cream colored even, and see the darker colors are really coming through, especially around the middle part. Here's the northern hemisphere, the lower northern hemisphere. Just see, here's the equator, and so it's concentrated around where we have the populations, the high populations. So that's gone up. That's not looking good. Also wanted to show ozone. Let's go to today for ozone. And so we can see all around this midline it's thinning and going into the aqua zone. Here's the chart. The solid yellow is 300 Dobson units, which is considered normal. Or then we have just a little bit into the reds, and everything else not much yellow either. And then it's looking like we're going into the below normal for a lot of the planet. The ozone is really getting eaten up. And see, here in North America, all the way up through Canada, this is the area where we've got this heat dome with high temperatures predicted, and we've been in it for the last few days, but it's just unbearable, going to be unbearable. Very high heat of over 100, and all from northern Canada. This is the Northwest Territories all the way down. And then in the Antarctic, for the ozone, I wanted to show you this. Now, we haven't had the big hole open up yet, but it is thinning. We can see here, see the green and then the blue-green. The chartreuse is 260 Dobson units. The next color down is 240, and that's taking up a lot of the land mass there. And see over this western peninsula and going all the way up to South America, and we've just got holes just eaten through in our ozone layer, and it's very severe. It's a dire situation. It's very dire. It's just not looking good. And with that thin ozone, it's hard for the crops to grow. They're burning. I'm not even trying to grow a garden this year because it was just a futile exercise last year. I got just a couple of things to grow, and it was just so much work, and I had to go out at certain times to water, and the leaves were just burning on all the plants, and they needed sun, but if you put them in the sun, then they burned up, and it was a whole thing. So I didn't do that this year. Now, let's move on. Let's go on to sea ice. We'll go through our slideshow now. Here is sea ice and snow cover from Climate Reanalyzer today. We can see the melting that has occurred and is occurring here, here around Svalbard, Franz Josef Land, and then see Novaya Zemlya is clear. Here in the Laptev Sea, there's been a lot of melting going on this week and all along the coastline. This is in high melt. The Bering Strait is clear, and there's the Beaufort Sea is deteriorating. You can't really see too much from this picture about how it's deteriorating. When we go to NASA World View and also on the Navy model, you'll see how it's really coming apart. And here in the Baffin Bay, this is melting quickly. Also, the nearest strait is starting to break up. Down here in the Hudson Bay, it's all in high melt now. Also, the Greenland ice sheet is under high melt, especially the southern part. They've been getting rain down here, of all things, and this is very bad news for this ice sheet. So let's see what it's done since our show last week. Here we are on the 20th. So I'll just click through and you'll see here was the 21st. So this was Monday, Tuesday. Now we had a storm system come across. It was raining across here, so it kind of opened it up, but then it closed back up. Here was the 23rd. Here's the 24th, Thursday. Here's Friday, Saturday, and here we are today. Now we'll look at the Navy models. Here is the sea ice thickness for the Arctic for today. And looking, I'll zoom in here. So according to the color ledger, the dark purples are about a meter thick. The dark blue is about 1.25 meters thick. The dark aqua is about 1.5 meters thick. The bright aqua is about 2 meters thick. And then the green is about 3 meters thick. And then you just see just little bits and pieces of yellows and reds going into a little bit thicker sea ice, but the majority is this dark aqua and below. So it's less than 2 meters thick. 2 meters or less. And so I've named these quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4. And looking in quadrant 1, now this is the Laptev Sea, and this area is where the East Siberian Arctic shelf is located, and the area where Natalia Shikova and her partner Igor Semiletov have dedicated their life. They're Russian scientists. They've dedicated their work to studying methane in this area, in this Arctic, and they've done expeditions and have studied some other areas too, but primarily it's this area where they found just so much methane that was stored in the sediments, and it's very shallow in these sediments. And they were saying in 2008, I believe it was, can't remember when, that once the sea ice melts and then the water heats up and the sediments heat up, that the methane could just blow like gigatons, 50 gigatons or more all at once, and then it's game over in a heartbeat, because it would heat up the atmosphere so fast. So we're just waiting for, that could happen any day now, seriously, any day. And so what we're seeing is, in this Laptev Sea, huge areas that are already opened up from Severnaya Zemlya over, and then we've got just a little skim of ice, this little lavender color. Here's New Siberian Islands. It's opened up here below that. It's opening up all along the coastline. Let's see. And then here's the Bering Strait. Now this is the Beaufort Sea, and if you've been following my work, last winter, I followed the sea ice, the multi-year sea ice, that what was left of it was right up here at the beginning of the winter, right up here above the Canadian archipelago, and we watched it shift and move down all winter long. And then this spring it had consolidated, and now this is what is left of the multi-year ice right down here. So we can see that's coming apart and going to be deteriorating fast. This, where it's, the aqua color, that's not multi-year, that's just a couple of years. So the multi-year ice is what holds up over the long term better, but it's going quickly. We can see that quadrant 2 is coming apart pretty fast. We've got a little bit of thicker ice left here in the North Kara Sea, and then it's coming apart here next to the North Pole. And then quadrant 3 is this area right above Greenland. That'll be thinning out quickly. And then quadrant 4 includes what's above this Canadian archipelago and the Beaufort Sea. And this is a very dynamic area. It's always moving. That gyre goes clockwise and then counterclockwise, and just tosses that sea ice back and forth. So it'll be an interesting, fast melt season. Fast. It'll go fast. And then here's the Baffin Bay, and where it's clearing out, and these tributaries. And the Nares Strait, like I said, is opening up. We'll be able to see that on NASA Worldview today. This is one of the exit points for the sea ice. So once that Nares Strait opens up, then you'll see huge amounts exiting through here. It also exits through the Fram Strait here east of Greenland, and also through these tributaries in the archipelago. So as these areas melt, what's holding that sea ice in that barrier will be gone. So here's the 30-day animation. The data goes back 3 weeks, and then the forecast goes out a week from now to July the 4th, which will be next Sunday. And we can see it's in high melt now. And we're going to zoom in and look at this now. We'll just watch it. And every year the pattern ends up being a little bit different. And different areas melt at different rates, just depending on the dynamics of all of it. It's just a little different every year. This will be my 4th summer to be tracking the sea ice. Okay, here we are at the end of the forecast period on July the 4th. So here, look at the thinning that has happened this week. Look at how that's all the way down into the dark blue and purple here around that. What's left of the multi-year ice right here is just that. Seriously. It's sad. It's sad. So that's where we're expected to be next week. Moving on. Here's the Beaufort Sea ice thickness. Same Navy model. And so here's Alaska at the bottom. Here's Canada, the archipelago on the right. This white and this white area, that's where it's opened up. The light purple, that's just big pieces very far apart. It's not well put together at all. We've got just a little bit hanging on to the coastline of Alaska here, and so we can see this is where this area is what's left of the thickest sea ice, and this is all thinning out and melting and coming apart here. Here's the 30-day animation. Watch this. Look at that. It really starts deteriorating in the last week in the forecast period. Look at that. It's just shocking. So here's where that will be next Sunday. This is the Baffin Bay. Now the Navy just started this model in February. And this is ice exiting and melting as it's coming down in contact with the warmer water. And so Greenland's here on the right, and this is Canada on the left. Here is the sea surface temperature for the Baffin Bay. This is the 30-day animation. You can see it's creeping up warmer and warmer. And now we'll go down to the Antarctic. Here's sea ice thickness for today. There's a hole that's it's probably a warm spot right here, but there's definitely a hole that's kind of opened up here on this northeast side. So we've seen a lot of methane here on this coming up along this western peninsula, even though there's thicker sea ice along there. Also down here on this little elbow, now the Pine Island Glacier is right up in that cubby hole. We can see there's that's very thin ice there. The Ross ice sheet is right down here, so we're seeing methane come up down here on this left side or west side of the Ross ice sheet, and you can see gaps in the ice where it's white along the coastline. Also, methane coming up on this southern edge and on this eastern side, and the Amory ice sheet is in this area. We're seeing methane come up along here and there, and here's the Brunt ice sheet along here, and now methane is coming up all along up here as well. And that A76 iceberg broke off right here in the Weddell Sea, and it's moving. It's just rotating out. Here's the 30-day animation. Now the Antarctic ice is totally different than the Arctic, because here we have the landmass in the center and the ice grows around the landmass, whereas in the Arctic we have the ocean in the center and the landmass around it. So the ice freezes in the center in the Arctic. And typically in the summertime, which is opposite for the northern hemisphere, in their summertime most of the sea ice melts in the Antarctic, so it has to all grow back. You have areas where, like here in the Weddell Sea, it didn't all melt, and here on this western side, but for the majority it does melt, and so that's why it's so thin when it's coming back, and it doesn't get very thick. So there's that. Now let's move on. Let's look at sea ice index next. This is on National Snow and Ice Data Center. Here we have the Arctic daily blue marble view. This is as of yesterday. This is concentration. And the dark blues, or the blues, that's where it's melting and deteriorating and not as concentrated. So you can hold on. You can see how this correlates with the Navy model. Here's the sea ice extent, and the dotted line was 2012 when we reached the lowest sea ice extent in the summertime, and we've been below that for the winter. We're kind of tied. It's just a little bit above 2012 right now, but it's not looking good. Then on the Antarctic, you can see the hole there that I pointed out. We can see the extent here is looking pretty good. And here, this let's see, the grayish green line was last year. The light gray line is the median. The blue line is this year. So we're kind of all converging all at the same place. This year is just a little bit, tiny bit higher than the other lines. Now fasten your seatbelt. Here's the Greenland ice sheet today. Look at this. That's awful. This salmon color, this is where it's melting. This is as of yesterday. And see this whole southern part. It's been raining down here. It's 2 or 3 times I've seen it rain, and it's raining there today. This week I was seeing huge rain down here. And look at the high melt around the edges. This ice sheet is in big trouble. Here's the cumulative melt days so far for this year. We can see on this southwest side, this is moving into the 20 to 30 day range. And all these blues, so just the white on the interior. This area has not done any melting so far this year. Now here is the chart, the graph. Let's go down a little. This dotted blue line is the median, and the red line is this year. And see how it has spiked up to about, it looks like 28% melt extent. See where it spiked up a few days ago. And so the date is as of yesterday, the 26th. So looks like it went down on the 26th. I imagine if you look at this after today, though, it'll be spiking back up because of the rain there today. So that's not good. Now we'll go over Climate Reanalyzer. Here are the maximum temperatures worldwide. We can see that most of the air over the Arctic is above freezing. The light green is just above freezing, and just a little tiny bit of area here to the left of the North Pole is in the blue. But look at these areas, the white from Canada all the way down along this west coast. These are temperatures. Look at Africa. These are over 100 degrees. And see, we've got it here in the Middle East and India. Look at India. So we have some really severe heat right now and forecast. Here's 2-meter temperature anomaly today. And we had been seeing it red around the Siberia coastline and here along the Russia coastline, and now we're seeing it red here from Canada down. We've got browns here in Russia. Look at this, and then look at the blues on the interior of the US and Canada. And same thing on this eastern side, the blues right next to the browns. This is because the jet stream is just wonky and is not holding in the cold air. And then see, we've got red down here in the Antarctic right next to blues and purples. Now worldwide we're up 0.2 C higher than normal. Here the northern hemisphere is up 0.8 C. So that's a spike. The Arctic is up 0.5 C. Tropics are up 0.4 C. Southern hemisphere is down 0.5 C, lower than normal. And the Antarctic is minus. That's a 4.2 C lower than normal. Here's precipitation and clouds. Now I told you to fasten your seat belts. Look at this rain going up into the Baffin Bay and along this western coast of Greenland, and then it's snow next to it. We also have rain here over the Chukchi Sea, and a little bit of rain over the Beaufort Sea, and rain coming up in this North Atlantic in the Norwegian Sea, and also rain in the Kara Sea. And rain here in northern Russia. And whenever you see that rain like that over these northern parts, if it's on land, then you've got to worry about the permafrost melting, thawing out. Here we go. Thawing. I said melting. Here's the jet stream. Now we do have a vortex here over the North Pole, but see how it's swooping down. It's got a break and it's swooping down. Look at the southern hemisphere. That's crazy. So here's the high pressure dome over the western United States up into Canada. And it's going to be there for days. I think maybe all week. I don't know. We saw sea ice and snow cover. Here's sea surface temperature anomaly. Now this is updated to Thursday. Now you're going to see a big difference since last week. You can see these browns and reds starting to come in where there's no sea ice. See the browns here in the Laptev Sea and along the coastlines. And we got reds here in the Bering Strait. And then around Greenland, and see the browns there. Look at the Mediterranean. It's really heating up, reds and browns. So overall, we're at 0.4 C higher than normal. Northern Hemisphere, North Atlantic, and North Pacific are all at 0.5 C higher than normal. Southern Hemisphere is 0.3 C up, and the Equatorial Pacific is up 0.2 C. There's that. Now we'll move on to NASA Worldview. Okay, I'll refresh and get all the latest data here. Okay. Here's the satellite view. Let's turn on sea ice concentration. And I'm going to turn on the blue marble layer. That cuts out the clouds. And where you see all the colors, that's where it's in high melt, very high melt. And where you see the black or the dark blue, that's where it's already melted. See all these areas that's already melted. Now here is the Laptev Sea. See, this is in high melt now. So let's go back through and see what happened this week from last Sunday. Here we were last Sunday. See, this is where it had been raining across, and it had kind of opened that up. Here we go. Here was, why did that not change? Oh, I hit the wrong button. Uh-oh, I hit the year. Okay, that was, so this is what it was last year, in case you wanted to see it. Here we are this year, on last week. Okay, here we go. Here's the 21st. Here was Monday. Tuesday, look at that. Wednesday. Thursday. Now see, it closed back up. Friday. Saturday. And here we are today. So it's going to be opening back up, and see these edges are redder now today. So I'll turn this off. And now we'll just take a peek at the satellite view. We're going to start down here at the nearest strait. Here's Greenland. This is an excellent view. See, no clouds. Look at the ice here. Look at the melt here on this northern part. That's coming apart. here's the nearest strait, this area through here. Here's a huge open area, see? Now you can see the ice pieces. If we're changing colors, that's the ice is melting. And then you can see here's the water through there. Here's Kennedy Channel, Franklin Island, it's melting around there. And then we're into clouds here. This is already all opened up though. No, wait. We're not that far down. Let's see. Let's go back. Okay, here we go. Here we are yesterday. This is a better picture even. Let's go in. Look at this. No clouds. This is rare to see it with no clouds. See, that's all breaking up. And here's where it had come to. See? So there's that. Let's go back. Ooh, lots of clouds there. Here's the archipelago. Now here's the Beaufort Sea. See there. Here's where it's opened up. This is the Munster Gulf. See, that's all open. Look at this. Here's Alaska, Canada. And then here's the Bering Strait. That's all open. There, see? Chukchi Sea. That's melting up there. Let's see. We can see this ice. Here it is. So the thickest, what's left of the thickest ice is right in here, right in this area. There's a big cloud today. Let's see. Now let's go this way. Here's Svalbard. Here's this east side of the ice. Look how that's breaking up. Look at that. Here's Franz Josef Land. This is all melted here. And here's Novaya Zemlya. That's ice free. Here's the ice here in the Kara Sea. Here's Severnaya Zemlya. This is Komsomolets here. Let's see. Lots of clouds. Okay, you can see where it's opened up here. Let's go back. Here we are today. So here's the Laptev Sea. See how that's opened up? And here's the ice up around the coastline. Oops. See, this is melting fast. Here's New Siberian Islands. A lot of clouds there. And then we're back to the Bering Strait. Here it was on the 23rd. This is a good view. Let's see. Uh-oh, I didn't mean to do that. Here we are. So there's that. Now we'll look at earthquakes. I'll go over my pictures. We had 231 when I took these pictures today. Earlier today. These are all magnitudes worldwide from USGS. The lower 48 had 107. Here in Southern California there were 29. 2.9 at Calipatria was the largest one at the Salton Sea. Searles Valley Ridgecrest had 22 today. Western Nevada to Mammoth Lakes had 11. Had a 1.0 in the middle of Lake Tahoe. This is San Francisco south along the San Andreas fault line. There were 9. The geysers had 17 today. We've got 2 in this picture. One at the base of the Juan de Fuca plate, a 2.8, and then just east of that, a 2.3 at Redway. So straight across. Pacific Northwest over to Yellowstone, there were 10. We can see activity here near Seattle and coming down and east. Nothing in Idaho, and right at Yellowstone it's up higher. Oklahoma had 2. Texas didn't have any today. There was a 2.3 at Macon, Georgia. We normally don't see them there. And look at the depth, 0 depth, 0 kilometer depth. You always got to wonder when you see that whether it was from mining or something like that. And then we had another one in Maryland. We had a 2 point something at Maryland a couple of days ago, and then today, or last night, a 1.7 at, looks like about 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Pacific time. Then in the Atlantic Ocean at 4.5, northern mid-Atlantic ridge, right on the red line. Puerto Rico had 28 today. We've got 2 here on the Cocos Plate off the coast of Mexico, a 4.3 and a 4.3. South America is showing 2, 4.2 and a 4.4. Hawaii is showing 27. The largest was this 3.0. It was actually in the ocean. They're calling it at Fern Forest, but it was in the ocean. Alaska had 46 today. South Pacific, we've got 5 in this picture. 5.1 and 5.0 Kermadec Islands. 4.6, 4.3 and 4.5. A couple of those were very deep in the Fiji Islands, 628 kilometers deep and 512 kilometers deep. And here's Indonesia, 4.4 Banda Sea, 5.4 Philippines. I don't know if that's related to the sulfur dioxide we saw or not. And then a 4.7 at Sangay, Pinu, Indonesia. And then a 4.6 in this Kuril Island chain, Russia. We've got 2 in this picture, a 4.3 central Iran and a 4.0 in Afghanistan, Ashkashan. And then southern Africa, a 4.6 at Carisburg, Namibia. That's all of those. Here's the website. And my attention is drawn to South America. Look at this. So we had 2 earlier, but look at this movement now down in this armpit. We've got 6 total here now. So that movement is picking up. They're in the 4s range. The largest is this 4.5 at La Chaqui, Peru. But look at this from Bolivia and Chile there. They've got 5 right there. Here's a new one. We do see them here in the Caribbean occasionally. 4.2 Morant Bay, Jamaica. So this is just south of Jamaica. So that's what we've got. Look at this. These are new. Wait. My mouse has a mind of its own. They're saying Juneau, Alaska, Canada line is right there. So 4 here. The largest was a 3.0. Juneau is there. That's the reporting station. But it's to the east of that. So that's my report for tonight. And I'll go ahead and finish up by continuing to read out of the Bible. I like to bring things back to a spiritual focus. I am Christian. Jesus Christ is my Savior. And we are in the end times. I do believe that, and I believe He's coming back. And so, are you ready for Him? This is why I'm reading these chapters to people, to be acquainted with the teachings of Christ and how to prepare. And if you haven't given your life to Jesus Christ, I highly recommend it. As we go into darker and darker times, we need spiritual direction. We need a spiritual focus. And we need God and Jesus, not the opposite. So I'm reading out of Ephesians. These are Paul's letters to the believers at Ephesus. Ephesians chapter 2. And you hath he quickened, who were dead in trespasses and sins, wherein in time past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience, among whom also we all had our conversation in times past, in the lusts of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature the children of wrath, even as others. But God, who is rich in mercy, for his great love wherewith he loved us, even when we were dead in sins, hath quickened us together with Christ. By grace ye are saved, and hath raised us up together, and made us sit together in heavenly places in Christ Jesus, that in the ages to come he might shew the exceeding riches of his grace in his kindness toward us through Christ Jesus. For by grace are ye saved, through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus unto good works, which God hath before ordained that we should walk in them. Wherefore remember that ye, being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands, that at that time ye were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope, and without God in the world. But now in Christ Jesus, ye whom sometimes were far off are made nigh by the blood of Christ. For he is our peace, who hath made both one, and hath broken down the middle wall of partition between us, having abolished in his flesh the enmity, even the law of commandments contained in ordinances, for to make in himself of twain one new man, so making peace, and that he might reconcile both unto God in one body by the cross, having slain the enmity thereby, and came and preached peace to you which were afar off, and to them that were nigh. For through him we both have access by one Spirit unto the Father. Now therefore ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints, and of the household of God, and are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom all the building fitly framed together groweth unto an holy temple in the Lord. in whom ye also are builded together for an habitation of God through the Spirit. Ephesians chapter 2. So I'm praying for all of you, and I'm especially praying for the lost, that you find your way and you find it with God and Jesus, and it's really easy once you open your heart to them and let them come in and help you. So, hope you have a good week, make it through, and until next time, I love you all. God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.